Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 274 of the J Situation Podcast. I'm recording this on September 2nd, 2025. How are all you wonderful folks doing today? I hope you're doing well and I hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. Hopefully, if you did have to work, the work was short-lived. You never know. A quick episode today as we'll go through the Microtech pistol silencer report from last week. So if you haven't checked out that paper on the website, I would encourage you to do so. But regardless, if you have or haven't, we'll talk about it today. So sit back, relax, and we'll talk about what makes that silencer tick. That's a pretty interesting unit. And I'm glad that we're able to get that done for you folks so more people can see it. Okay, let's get on with the show. If you've been here before, of course, welcome back. Awesome to have you back. If you're new, well, man, you just stepped into the wonderful world of suppressed small arms and learning about how the silencers work and protect you and those around you. We're going to have a fun time, okay? There are timestamps in the video description or the episode description, wherever, no matter where you are listening, you can find those timestamps, okay? So you can skip these ads that I'm about to read if you like and skip right to the topic there about the silencer, or you can stick around and learn about some cool companies, maybe save some money, maybe get swole, all kinds of things. Because this podcast is brought to you by Legion Athletics, and I literally just got done powerlifting about half an hour ago. Nothing you do, exercise, sports, or anything is worth doing without consistency. You have to do things all the time if you want to be good at them and excel at them. And Legion Athletics can help you with that. Whey protein, pre-workout, post-workout, creatine, vitamins, minerals, all kinds of stuff. Do they have everything you need? Well, no. The most important thing you need is a strong will. Okay, sound mind and a sound body. But if you struggle like me to get all your nutrition properly in a time window that is appropriate due to all the different things you're doing, supplements can certainly help. Use the code word PewScience. It saves you, you get buy one, get one, 50% off of your entire shopping cart. And then if you keep using it, you get that code, you get 20% cash back in the form of points every time you shop there. I can tell you right now, like, what did I use today? I used the Pulse pre-workout. The stimulant version, the one with caffeine. They have a stimulant and non-stimulant. I use the creatine, which I use every day. What did I do? I think it was the Recharge or something. It's like an intro workouts thing I use. And then I actually forgot to take my vitamins today. It's been one of those catching up weeks. So yeah. Anyway, get strong. It's important. Always email us at tech@pewscience.com. I'll be happy to guide you on stuff. I used to lift competitively, so I'm pretty into this stuff. It's kind of cool. Silencer Shop is also a sponsor. They've done a lot for the industry, not only consumers, but gun shops. And I think sometimes people don't understand that the dealer network the Silencer Shop has built has really helped distribute silencers in a way that can be easy for consumers, especially with the kiosk. So it helps the consumers, it helps the dealers not hold a lot of inventory. That's pretty good. You got a money back guarantee, no transfer fees, no paperwork errors. It's you and your silencer with no drama. Truly, a silencer ownership simplified. There's another gun dealer out of Houston. They use Silencer Shop and as well as their own stuff. Top Gun Range. So if you're just passing through Houston, if let's say you're on a Southwest flight and you got a layover or something, do you just pop off the airport out of hobby and like drive to Top Gun, just like tell your boss you have another meeting or whatever, go shoot machine guns in their indoor range, 15 lanes, shoot the silencers on the machine guns. You can rent the silencers. That's right. And Kyle and his crew, like before you shoot, after you shoot, they will totally help you understand the ins and outs of the silencers you're shooting. It's a gun store and a shooting range that actually knows about the NFA. It's very refreshing. Okay. If you're used to podunk shops that don't know anything and try to convince you that silencers are illegal and all that crap. No, they're not like that. Kyle and his crew have been with PewScience for a long time, sponsoring this podcast too. So they all obviously care about you guys good and good information. So you should give them your business. TopGunRange.com. Capital Armory is another one here in Texas that you should probably give your business to because they support PewScience. And if they support PewScience, that means they're A-OK in our book. Capital Armory does something special besides being a very large dealer and actually being run by NFA people. Like the people that run Capital Armory actually know about silencers and how they perform. Yes, they sell them. Yes, they're making money from selling them. They're running a business, but they got into the game because they actually wanted it to be easier for you and they actually understand the stuff. That's what sets Capital Armory apart, in my opinion, from some other very large organizations. And so they can actually ship your silencer to your door if you're in one of the 42 states where silencers are legal. Okay, so check them out, capitalarmory.com. Also, this podcast is brought to you by the Pew Science Laboratory. I'm the technical director of the lab, and we've chosen to continue to do this podcast every week, basically, in the interest of public education and with our mission that has remained the same since we launched in 2020 publicly to push the silencer industry forward one test at a time. And I believe we have done so with your help. You can visit pewscience.com for the suppression rating. It's the simplest, most accurate hearing safe rating for your suppressed small arms based on true human inner ear response of the entire gunshot from before the combustion takes place all the way until all the combustion is gone. And it's the home of the silencer sound standard. 7 sections, the most in-depth and accurate silencer data analysis in the world, literally. And it's available to the public 24/7 at pewscience.com. And you can support all this whole ecosystem. You can support the podcast. You can support the laboratory. You can support all the testing we do by joining with a membership at pewscience.com. It's really cheap. It's like super cheap. It's like less than a cup of coffee cheap. And you can, and if you're not into recurring things, that's cool. Donate. You can do a one-time donation on the podcast page or the review page. Every little bit helps. And you know what? And if money is not your thing right now, that's cool. Something that's free, it never costs you anything, is just go check out the reviews and then share this podcast and give it a good rating on the iTunes and the Spotifys and all the other services that you can listen to it on, and let folks know that silencers and guns are awesome. And then we'll eventually normalize the use of suppressed small arms, and everyone will have them. It'll be awesome. All right. So one main topic for you today. Let's go ahead and, well, how am I going to do this? Well, we'll do this. We'll start the main topic at a time of 6 minutes and 53 seconds. Okay. And so this is going to be Sound Signature Review 6198, the Microtech Defense R2K9 on the HK P30L. Modular pistol silencer, okay, and the lengths that it offers are a bit longer than typical, and because of that, you get some interesting performance potentials, or maybe another word for that would be opportunity. If you're interested in using something like that. So one of the main questions we have here is, when you take an old school k-baffle and you optimize it, how does it stack up with the current high performers that we've seen lately? Okay, so we're going to go technical on that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down as we've done in the past few technical talks. What we've done is broken it down into subtopics. So I'll hit the intro, a physical overview. We'll talk about the design of the silencer, and then we'll talk about the system performance. And I think that's a good way to break it out. Okay, so we'll go into the intro now at a time of 8 minutes and 2 seconds. Oh, did I just get some noise in my... Hold on. Is this loose? Nope. Weird. I heard some noise. I don't know if that's like electromagnetic interference or something. One moment. It's aliens. The gravity reactors are turning on. It's because it's an intro. Very interesting silencer. I think during the podcast intro, I said that I'm glad we could get this done for you folks. I said that last time too, and I'm saying it again now. I'm very happy that we could get the Microtech silencer studied for you in depth, as we like to do with everything we publish. A lot of new silencer users, and I guess even experienced users too, they come to me and they ask me what my favorite silencers are. And I usually qualify it by saying, I think everyone should have at least one rimfire silencer, simply because rimfire is the easiest to suppress because of its very low amplitude blast loads, and the ammo is cheap. And, having suppressed rimfire setups is awesome. I always preface my answer with that. That's what I talk about first. But, caveat, I think my personal favorite silencers are 9mm pistol silencers. And not even 9mm silencers in general. I want to be very clear. I'm not speaking about all 9mm silencers. No. I do love subguns, and I love suppressing subguns. Suppressing an MP5 is something that everyone should do a lot. That is true, yes. But that is not what I'm talking about here. Okay? What I say when I mean 9mm pistol silencers, I mean pistol silencers specifically. 9mm silencers intended to be used on combat handguns. Okay? That's my personal favorite type of silencer. Personal. Now, they're the type of silencers I personally have the most experience with, the ones I like to shoot the most, and they are my most loved silencers way before I started Pew Science, back when I did other things. And so when we took this Microtech Defense silencer on loan from a very early lab client, this is a long time ago, we got this thing in our inventory, I was pretty stoked. But honestly, just sometimes this happens. It kind of sat there, and we had other things to do. There's a lot of things to do. You're running a lab. You're running things. There's a lot of things going on. It kind of sits on the shelf. And it's in your inventory, but you see it at the audit, and you're like, oh man, we just did an audit. I remember that. You see it. And I think the last time I saw it after an audit, I promised myself, and I promised a guy online when he asked me about it, I said, I promised we'd get to it. And, it's sort of easy to forget about some silencers, especially when they don't have a huge commercial market presence, and there's just so much information bombarding you day in, day out for marketing stuff. Just so much noise to sift through. I'm not. Well, I guess I am kind of making excuses. I think that's sort of what happened with the Microtech for me. There were some YouTube videos, like when it came out in 2020, general marketing, just, influencer stuff, anything, that type of stuff. But there really wasn't a continuous push like you see from other silencer companies. Maybe it's the fact that Microtech Defense only makes this silencer, and they don't make any other silencers. They're not really a silencer company, although I guess they are. They made a silencer, but they're not really, that's not their bread and butter. I don't think. It doesn't seem like it, right? So maybe that's why there wasn't a big push. I don't know. I honestly haven't spoken with them about that, so I have no idea. I mean, you may be thinking it's weird that, gosh, this silencer company has one silencer and they made it and they still make it and they don't talk about it. That's weird. You may be thinking, yeah, that's very strange. Well, you may also be interested to learn an interesting piece of history. A lot of you may remember Silencer Co. Started with only one product. Yeah, the Sparrow. The 22 silencer. That's all they had when they launched the company, and they got popular pretty quickly, at least with us silencer enthusiasts, with that one product. And I guess it's all about where a company decides to go. It's not good or bad. It just some people like to grow, some people don't, and that's okay. So it doesn't mean their products are better or worse. Just because a silencer company is really big does not mean their silencers are better than a company that's very small. I need you to really understand that. Some of you new to silencers, you get fooled. I see these people on the internet, internet where everyone's an expert about everything in the world. They'll say things like, oh, so-and-so company, they're the biggest silencer company in the world, and that's, so you should trust them, and they know what they're, no. Silencer company size has nothing to do with performance. I can assure you of that. I will hang my hat on that, and I'll debate anybody. I'll debate anybody in the industry about that. Like pistols at dawn, dude. Seriously, I'll die on that hill. And those of you who listen that know I'm right. Silencer company size doesn't mean jack for performance. It might mean something for customer service or something, maybe. That's a loose maybe. But performance, no. I'm afraid not. So I mentioned this last time. The silencer is about 5 years old. It was being marketed as Pew Science launched. I remember. It is in fact still in production. I asked Capital Armory actually if they knew anything about that, since when I Googled, Capital Armory popped up in the Google results, one of the Google search results there, as one of the vendors that still has the silencer listed on their site, though it was out of stock, but it was on their site. So I was like, let me talk to Capital, and they told me Microtech is still doing runs every once in a while. I was like, oh, cool. Well, that's good. That makes this a much more useful report. It was useful to me technically, but I was happy that it could also be useful to consumers looking to purchase it, because it is not discontinued. So maybe folks reading the report, maybe them getting reminded of the existence will spur some interest. I don't know. I do think it's an interesting unit. I think we'll get into this, and you'll begin to understand why I think it's interesting. Okay, so we'll move into the physical overview at a time of 15 minutes. And 22 seconds. And if I miss something in this, it's chances are I hit it on the intro talk last episode as well. So listen to both. So physical overview. First of all, colors. No, it's weird that we talk about that, but this one does have 3. They're at least on their website. 3 are available. I tend to always see the one that we have, which is the silver one. They call that apocalyptic. Okay. They also have FDE, which they call coyote, and they have a black, which they call black. So those are the choices. I don't know, man. If it's like Cerakote or something, I don't know if it is. If whatever, it wouldn't be hard to just paint it if you wanted to change the color. It is a cylinder, after all. I wouldn't lose too much sleep over that. Silencer's modular, and just to be clear, with this episode, I plan on posting a photograph I took today of several current modular 9mm pistol silencers on the market. Keep in mind I'm saying pistol because you need to be comparing apples to apples. They've all been, they all have Pew Science reports, and they will all be posted in a picture together so you can see the modular units disconnected and kind of ooh and awe about the different wares. But I thought that it's a rare time where the where the picture actually matches the podcast if it's not a review day. So maybe that will help you. In the case of the R2K9, it is, if you're new to this, it's extremely important that you understand both the long and short lengths, or the long and short configurations, are longer than typically seen with a modular pistol silencer. And on its face, you might think, well, okay, if the silencer's longer, it's quieter, and using that length advantage, so that doesn't really seem special. Why do you care? And I would say that you're partially correct in that, I think, and because you really, in general, you don't want to have to use a 9mm pistol silencer that's as long as like a modern 45 caliber pistol silencer. I think that's a bit much. Like if you have like an Obsidian 45 from Rugged, 45 caliber, and you have a 9mm pistol silencer that's as long, it's like almost ungainly. It can be almost ungainly. Can be too much for general use. It's doable. Don't get me wrong, it's doable. You don't need that for 9mm a lot with current technology. And the thing about the lengths of the modules with the Microtech that I like is that the short configuration is actually a good length. And that short configuration is long enough to get performance that makes me want to actually use that in situations where I normally would want a full size. Excuse me. You know what I mean? And it's a little nuance here. As someone who's used to modular pistol silencers and using them, you always have that choice. Do I use the short? Do I use the long? Do I use the short? Do I use the long? Typically when you use the short configuration of a 9mm pistol silencer, you're going to have to give up a substantial amount of bystander suppression rating, which I feel is a sacrifice you don't want to make in situations in which you might need the significant suppression performance, frankly. Like now for practice, sure, dude. Like short configuration is great. I actually love shooting short configurations of modular pistol silencers in practice. But for operations, I know that word can sound cliche and kind of cringe, but for maybe when I say operations, I mean doing something actively with the silencer that really matters. For maybe shooting something discreetly, that could be a rodent or pest at your ranch. That could be a guy in your house that you don't like that much, or a guy or a girl. Don't be sexist. if you're going to shoot something discreetly, I've always loved the idea of keeping that bystander rating really high and having the silencer be pretty compact. Wouldn't that be great? And the short configuration of the Microtech actually gets you there. And we're going to talk more about that later. But this is a nuance and that's one of the reasons I posted the photograph in the way I posted it with this episode, so you can compare the short configuration side by side directly. That's why I actually decoupled the modules of the silencers and installed the end caps so you could see them. One moment. A lot of you are like, oh, why aren't you talking about 5.56? Pistol silencers are stupid. It's like, no, you're going to learn today. No. I have a feeling Microtech and others around during the launch of this thing, at the time, I think they probably echoed that sentiment of the K configuration or the short configuration of this being really useful. And an opinion I have about this, I think there are some things in the design that sort of make it pretty practical too. Like, you can disassemble the distal end cap and the modules without tools, okay, which is, AAC has been doing that for years. Shout out to Mr. Mike Smith. He's now at Dead Air, but before they stole him to make the Mojave at Dead Air, he did a lot of pistol silencer work at AAC back when AAC was like actually a thing. So he was always I just love Mike's mind as an industrial designer. And I met him once. He's such a nice person, and he has a really good eye for practical, user-based maintenance procedures. Microtech actually, it's funny. They did the same thing. Not the whole thing, because you still need some tools, which the silencer comes with. But they did do it with the end cap and the modules, and I think there's a method to that madness since it won a military contract. But I'll tell you. You can take the distal end cap off without tools. You can take the module apart without tools. The grip texture that's machined into the titanium, it's pretty nice. It's clean. It's grippy. It's not sharp like it'll hurt, and it's not dull like it'll be too slippery. It's perfect. It works with or without gloves. I have definitely tried it. All of the joints in the pieces that come apart have O-rings. When you unscrew the end cap off of the short front section, which they call the accessory module, just if you want to use their parlance, you'll see there's a plate inside that is compressing the baffles. That is a baffle retainer. What it is in common vernacular, you would call it an orifice plate. Those of you just working in industrial settings, you would call that an orifice plate, and that screws into the tube after you place the baffles inside. Okay, so that when you screw that in, it actually puts the stack into compression, which is what you want. So there's one accessory, there's one orifice plate or baffle retainer in the accessory module holding the baffles in place, and there's another in the main module, which they call the K unit, holding those baffles in place. And the tool you use to remove those baffle retainers, remove those orifice plates, is called the two-sided armorer's tool. It lets you unscrew those plates if you use one side of the tool and you flip the other side over, and you can remove the piston retainer cap on the proximal end, which is cool. And just as an FYI, the fact it comes with that tool and more tools is pretty awesome. I'm going to give you another personal opinion. I hate buying a silencer that uses the tools for disassembly and it doesn't come with the tools. That's to me ridiculous. Now, if it uses standard wrench sizes, well, that's fine. I don't really mind as much. But having custom tools for the silencer and it not coming with the silencer, that's weak sauce, bro. Here's a huge common example. I'm going to pick on them just because this is from a time when I was strictly a silencer consumer and just stuff that was pissing me off. Rugged, for example, does not include the tools with their Obsidian silencer. Makes no sense to me. They claim you can use the piston to unscrew the end cap, but come on, guys. Come on. Especially with the end cap strike problems with the Rugged silencers. Come on. We got to tighten that thing up. What, I'm going to use the piston for that? Come on, guys. give a damn wrench or something, or the tool that I bought. I bought the whole thing separately when I was a consumer, and it's fine. I mean, their tools are great. They're made out of Delrin. They're machined Delrin, so they're not going to mar the finish. But I shouldn't have to do that. That always bugged me. I was like, if you're going to sell a silencer that's modular and meant to be taken apart, either do it like Mike Smith at the companies he's worked at, where he does it freaking with a smart industrial design to do it by hand, or you do a hybrid approach like Microtech, where you do some by hand or some with a tool, or you do all tools. But or you give a standard wrench flat size so someone can use a normal tool. But don't make a proprietary tool and not include it with the damn silencer. If it's a freaking modular silencer, come on. Okay, soapbox is done. Sorry. So you take these modules apart, and you can of the Microtech, and then you can remove the orifice plates, the baffle retainers, and then if you wish, you can remove the baffles if you need to clean them or something. And, that's a nice touch. The kit comes with a push rod for that too, which is very good. And, those of you, push rods for silencers are not new at all. They became popular when the push for user serviceable rimfire silencers began in the market many years ago. I know AAC shipped one with their Element. I know SWR shipped one with their Spectre. Silencer Co., one of the reasons their Sparrow became so popular, even though it had terrible first round pop on a pistol, one of the reasons the Sparrow became so popular is because it had the clamshells and didn't need a baffle pusher. It was a monocore with clamshells, so the tube was isolated from debris one moment. But this Microtech has K-baffles, and we'll talk about that. So, and they're not sleeved. So pushing tools, good. It's machined well. It's Microtech. So all the components are titanium. The machining is really great. I will say that. We're going to talk about the baffle design in the next subtopic. But if you look at it, like once you take it apart and you look at the baffles, it's going to be very apparent to you how they approached the performance solution to achieve the goals they were going for. And I just really love that. Was one of the most interesting parts of the study to me, to look at how they tried to do it, or how they did it and what they achieved with it. When you remove the piston retainer cap, like on the back end there, you can swap the piston between two different ones that come with the silencer. It comes with a 13.5 by 1 millimeter left hand, my favorite. It also comes with a half 28 right hand. In the report, and I think I also mentioned this last episode on the intro talk, I told you that there are 3 more pistons you can buy from Microtech if you need them, in different pitch and different pitches. It comes with a really nice fixed barrel spacer. So if you want to use one of those pistons that you can buy to screw this silencer onto a subgun with maybe like half 32 threads or something, which definitely exists. The half 32 is more common on a fixed barrel. Use that spacer instead of the spring. Just take out that piston spring, put the spacer in its place, and snug it up with a tool, and you'll be good to go. And actually, this might be a good idea, or it might be a good time to explain why we do that with fixed barrel weapons. Like, for those of you new to silencers, why would we use a fixed barrel spacer instead of a spring? So typically, when you are operating a fixed barrel weapon, anything attached to the muzzle should not displace. Okay, there are exceptions. One exception this is very recent public history, and this is like a pretty niche example, but I thought it was an interesting one. There's a gyroscopic brake developed by Romeo Hotel Engineering. It's run by Riley. He is an his full-time job, he is an engineer at HK. That's right, he's an actual engineer. Designs guns for HK USA. He has a company called Romeo Hotel Engineering. Shout out to Riley. He's a gentleman and a scholar. He developed a muzzle brake that uses muzzle blast thrust to spin the brake, thus stabilizing the barrel during free vibration after the forced vibration phase ends. That's right. After the muzzle blast thrust vectors have left the system, you will get free vibration, as you will with any dynamic system, and the gyroscopic thrust vectors from Riley's invention stabilize. They spin the muzzle brake, and the gyroscopic forces stabilize the barrel whip there. It's pretty cool. You can see it. You shoot it, the thrust vectors spin it, and then by spinning it, it stabilizes the motion. It's pretty cool. And that's generally safe for your rifle barrel. I mean, it's literally just spinning around it, stopping free vibration, and really stopping that muzzle rise with rapid fire. It's pretty cool. Now, so in that case, it's no problem having something move on the end of your barrel. That's kind of cool. I mean, it's not very common, but I thought that was it's a different, it's a rotational movement. So, but what we're going to talk about is something else that moves, and that's a silencer piston. And boy, isn't that completely different. So, a silencer piston, they work by they allow decoupling of the inertial resistance of the silencer from the barrel assembly. Okay, remember your elementary, your middle school physics that force equals mass times acceleration. Yeah, your mass. It turns out it's an inertial term. And so things that are sitting there resting, it takes a minute to get them moving. And if things that are moving, it takes a minute to get them stopped. They have an inertial term. So you have this inertial resistance of all objects that have mass. And your silencer is no different. And so the silencer has a mass. And the pistol is not designed to have that mass on the barrel end. It's just not. And so what the piston does, it allows a spring to be compressed, and the silencer axially displace such that when you fire the system, the barrel can unlock and tilt, and the slide can cycle without that mass really influencing its motion at all. Okay, but the way it's done involves, again, muzzle blast thrust, just like Riley's invention. It's different though, right? The difference here, it's not rotational, it's axial, it's linear, right? So that's one of the reasons why Greg Lotka, the G in GSL, the folks who made Gemtech silencers, Greg named his inertial decoupling device the LID. I think the linear inertial decoupler. I think Joe Gaddini named his the LCD. Okay. Okay, dude, hold on a second. Now I gotta look at what Joe's acronym was. Linear decoupler device. Same thing, right? But it's linear, and it's a decoupler, and that's the most important thing. They both have D in that for L and the D. It's almost the same acronym. Now, but it's important mechanically for you to understand how silencers work. Okay, thanks. Now, imagine what would happen if you place this Microtech silencer on a fixed barrel weapon with the piston spring installed instead of the fixed barrel spacer. Yeah. What would happen? Well, the muzzle blast would impinge upon the first reflector, right? The blast baffle as you know it. Then what would happen? It would transfer that impulse into the system, yes. The spring would then compress, but the barrel would still be fixed in space for momentarily, right? And then the silencer would return, and it would slam back into the piston assembly, wouldn't it? It would have to. If you kept firing over and over and over, you would be hammering the end of the barrel with repeated impact cycles. You would. Your barrel is not designed for that. I don't care who makes it. If it's made out of special German steel or it's made out of pot metal. You know, your barrel's not designed for that. Your rifle's not designed for it. The silencer's not designed for it either. These systems are simply not designed for those type of shocks. You could potentially damage any of those things. You could damage the barrel, the rifle, the pistol. You can damage a lot of stuff. Dynamic impact is a significant load and significantly different than a static load. So when you place the spacer around the piston instead of the spring, and you isolate that linear travel, there's no axial motion, and it behaves as a fixed system. There should be no movement. And actually, that's an important fact, and it may help you when you install fixed barrel spacers and pistol silencers. In general, if you are installing a fixed barrel spacer onto a piston, and you place that silencer on the weapon, and you can still move the silencer axially, that means back and forth, like in the direction of the barrel, something might be wrong. Now, a small nuance detail here. There are some fixed barrel spacers that are sold with wave springs that are put into compression. AAC did that for a little bit. Most of them should be fixed with no travel. I hope that makes sense to you. If you ever have questions about that, please email us. One moment. Really, you should be emailing the manufacturer, but if you can't get a good answer, as happens sometimes, just email us. So as far as stuff, does that make sense? I just wanted to tell you that it comes with a fixed barrel spacer, and some people see those are like, I'm too lazy to. My pistol's half 28. My MP5 is half 28. Past the 3 lug, I'm just going to thread my pistol silencer onto my MP5. I'm just going to thread my pistol silencer onto my 9mm AR or my CMMG whatever, and shoot on social media. And I have a huge following. I'm an influencer, and I'm really smart. And I've seen these dang people on Instagram and whatever, these influencers shoot. I've seen a machine gun, a fully automatic submachine gun with a 9mm pistol silencer installed with a damn piston on that gun, and I've seen in slow motion, I've seen it go wham wham wham, and I see the silencer just moving forward and aft, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, slam, 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 and they post that to the damn internet. I remember I saw that one time. I commented, I said, "Hey, you might want to like not break your stuff," and like they're like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "Okay, well." And they're showing and they have like a following of like tens of thousands of people. I'm like, you just showed tens of thousands of people a mechanical problem that you're inducing in a system. You didn't think like maybe you should learn how to use the silencer before you put it on the gun? I was like, dude, it's not like it was I was going to say it's not like they're a brand new silencer user or something, but maybe they are. But then what? They put it on Instagram, and all of a sudden you think they're an expert at silencers, and companies are like, yeah, buy the silencer because they like it. As far as stuff you get with the kit, there's a list in the first paragraph of the review or the report on the website. It's pretty long. You get, all this. You get the silencer pieces, 2 pistons, spring and spacer, baffle retainers, push rod, armor's tool, bag of O-rings, hard case with laminated spiral book manual. Dude, if you buy this, you should not need anything else for this silencer unless you need an oddball thread piston, which they have. It's a cool unit, dude. It's definitely, this is like a deep cut on an album. Like, this is definitely something silencer enthusiasts tend to like, I think. This is not for everybody, but I think it's pretty slick. All right, you're going to talk about the technical design at a time of 37 minutes and 49 seconds. I got a lot of pre-workout in my system, apparently. It happens. Silencer design, yeah. The cool part about this is you can Google the manual of the silencer, right? And you can download it from their website too. You can see the baffles. They have used what we used to call them this. I don't know if I guess we do. We call them this, like the silencer people call them this. I don't know what the Form 1 community started to call them. Because, the Form 1 community came later. And they renamed everything. We used to call them k-baffles. And a long time ago, in the pistol silencer wars between Gemtech and AAC and SWR, k-baffles were the thing that AAC chose to dig in their heels with. K-baffles respond well to high pressure, and they also have a lot of back pressure, as you can imagine, just due to the way they work. But you can tune some of that out with different design cues. This is part of where the whole large blast chamber reduces back pressure myth came about, because they were still dealing in baffle space instead of flow space. It's okay. They learned. In the case of the Microtech silencer, it's a fairly traditional k-baffle design, except for the reflected faces. I mean, sure, there's some nuanced geometry they changed, but if you look in the photos you may find online, they've machined geometry to disrupt the wave as it sweeps across each baffle face, the vertical face. If you were to look horizontally at the transverse, So you build quite a bit of more turbulence across that face, and you do that at each baffle junction. So that can increase the efficiency of heat transfer, slow propagation, and in effect, increase suppression efficiency. It's a double whammy. There are other optimized features of the geometry too, but that is by and large the biggest part of it, trust me. They do use a smaller, or should I say a shorter baffle at the end of each module as well. That is interesting. The design is very clean. The machining, like I said, is absolutely excellent. The fit and finish and the quality of the system is excellent. It is, in my opinion, I know it's going to seem like I'm picking on them, but it's just because it is relevant and topical. I think it's higher quality than a rugged silencer, and I'm saying that with admiration. I think that's a big peg point. I've always thought rugged designs were made so well, and the fit and finish is so good. Just like compared, I'll give you another example. Pick up a rugged silencer versus a dead air silencer. I know I'm not talking about performance. I'm talking about quality. There is no comparison. There never has been a comparison. The comparison in rugged quality versus dead air quality has always been in favor of rugged. And nobody at those companies is going to be upset with that, because the people working at dead air said that themselves. And now that they're getting their silencers 3D printed somewhere else, maybe it's better. But I'm saying, like, in the machined realm of like the past decade of like, you pull a rugged silencer out of a box, you put a dead air silencer out of a box, the one that's going to exude the most quality and fit and finish and good feel is going to be the rugged 100% of the time. I'm just giving you my opinion as a consumer, and then as things that have come through our lab to test. And we've touched more silencers than most consumers. Maybe not all, because there are some crazy people out there, but we've touched more silencers than most people. And so I am saying, in all of my experience, I think the Microtech beats the rugged in that way. Again, that's not to say rugged doesn't make nice stuff. I think rugged makes amazing things. I am just saying rugged set that bar high, and I think Microtech surpassed that bar in 2020. Now, is it still happening 5 years later? I have no idea. I'm just telling you. You saw the damn serial number of the. I posted the Microtech song. You can look up. I don't know how when it was made. I'm assuming 2020. Okay. So, something I mentioned earlier, which is relevant to the overall design, is the baffle retainer plates. Now, they are orifice plates. So, in addition to an oversized center hole, they have 6 radial vent holes. So the plates are in fact still restricting flow, but they are not restricting it completely. You can fire the silencer without the end cap in either configuration, and you will still be okay because of the orifice plates. They're compressing the stacks. But because they're ported, you will not get the same suppression potential as you would if you had the end cap installed over the plate in each configuration. You understand? And the end cap, it's not just an end cap. There is a recessed flange on the end cap, so it's not unlike the end cap on an SWR Trident, except the Trident has 2 notches. This one has 1 and it's curved. Details, guys, and believe me, end cap matters on pistol silencers in the subsonic ammunition combustion regime. Believe me, there's a method to all of this madness, dude. These details, a lot of people gloss over them, but all of these things matter. So use the end cap is my point by saying that. Another thing that's interesting about the end cap is that it can also be used as a piston retainer removal tool. Yeah. So when you remove the end cap, you'll see it has the same pattern as one of the sizes of the armorer's tool. This means if you're in the field without the whole kit and you need to take out the piston for whatever reason, believe me, you never know. If a piston locks up or something, you got to lube it. Like, it's happened, bro. You can use the end cap to take out the piston, which is smart. Very smart. There are 7 total baffles. The main module has 4 normal ones and then a short one at the end. The accessory module has 1 normal one and then a short one. So 5 baffles plus 2 baffles, 7 baffles. Again, Personal opinion, I think they made a good choice here, putting only 2 baffles in the accessory module. I think sometimes by making the short modules of modular silencers too short, that's hard to say. If you make the short thing too short, a lot of folks end up only using them in the long configuration. Or another way to say that is the short configuration doesn't have as much utility. I think here the K unit, as they call it, could be the primary unit for a lot of people. Okay, like based on the performance we discovered in the test program. Honestly, I think that's going to serve folks. Oh, excuse me. I think it's going to serve folks well. I really do. And where did I? Oh, I had one in front of me. The piston design. It's something I wanted to talk about real quick. It is not super advanced from a flow perspective, but mechanically, it seems pretty sound to me. I haven't done a finite element analysis. Like I haven't 3D scanned it and like done a stress analysis on it. Okay, I'm not giving you a technical judgment on its mechanical integrity or and structural robustness. I'm eyeballing it and I like some of the features I see. I like the way they machined the teeth. I like the way the structure's laid out. It seems like it has strength in places that I feel would be important. I don't know how they designed it, if it was empirical, if it was artistry, or if they actually did it analytically. I don't know. I do think, if anything, the piston assembly and the blast chamber might be something they could improve in a version 2, if they ever did decide to improve on this thing. Okay, so that's all I'll say about that. Let's move into technical system performance at a time of 46 minutes and 42 seconds. Okay, one moment, please. Okay. System performance. Okay, now would be a good time, if you haven't already, to pull up the report at pewscience.com. It is report 6.198. It is the 198th report in the section 6 of the Silencer Sound Standard. You can pull up the member version or the free version, whichever you would like. Okay. There are 2 tests in this report, so we're going to start from the top. Bottom line up front, 55.1 suppression rating, 1 meter left of the end cap in the free field, standing 1.6 meters above the ground. 41.2 suppression rating at the operator's head. That brings us to a composite suppression rating of 55.4 in the full configuration, which is 8.6 inches long. Very long for a 9mm pistol silencer. As I told you. Just while we're here, though, before we go on, what happens if you take off the accessory module and you put the end cap onto the K module? So you're running it into the so-called short configuration. What happens? Your muzzle suppression rating drops as expected. You go from 55.1 to 49 flat. Okay, so you drop half a category. Okay, at the shooter's ear, it is almost the same, though. Very interesting. You go from 41.2 to 42.4. Okay, the slight reduction in back pressure actually helps you out a little bit, and the muzzle blast is far enough away to not tank it. Okay, so then that brings you to composite rating, the K configuration or the short configuration of 50.2. Okay, so you're half a category safer with the long versus the short. Half a category. Okay, let's talk about the long configuration and see what it does. When you let's scroll down. There's a lot of stuff. Scroll down until you get to the data plots, figure 1. Okay. When you look through the pressure field in figure 1, figure 1A, 1B, and then the impulse field in figure 2, 2A and 2B, you'll see behavior that is actually extremely consistent with silencers like the AAC Tyrant 9 series, of which we have a full compendium of research on. You can look on our website. And part of the reason why is because it's, they both use k-baffles for one. The different iterations of the baffle type, but still the same. You see a lot of gas throttle, but one thing you also see is a first round pop divergence that happens very fast in time, or quickly. And it is more severe than you would want it to be. today, if you were looking for a very, very high performing pistol silencer at the upper echelons of performance, keep in mind this is a five-year-old design, guys, and even the 8.6 inches long, their first round pop is not trivial. But I would encourage you, in full contextual parlance here, just to be really careful. Do not dog on this too much, because it has better FRP suppression than a dead air Mojave 9. Okay, so it's not like the Microtech isn't a high performer. It's just that it's 8.6 inches long and it's 5 years old, and you would think maybe that was going to be a little better for the length. And that is, to be honest with you, again, I like these podcasts because I get to speak freely. I don't have to speak as technically as I do on the reports. This is probably my main nitpick about the silencer. I think with some really advanced testing, maybe they would have had some ideas to remedy this. Or maybe not. Or maybe it was just how far they wanted to push the tech at the time. You can't really Monday morning quarterback him too much. Pew Science wasn't even, like, we were just getting off the ground. They probably didn't know us. And that's okay, dude. You can see how peak accumulation in shot in blast momentum in an impulse in figure 2A. Look how fast the FRP jumps. You see how, look at the slope. Okay, it's really, really steep. I mean, the FRP is screaming out of there. It tells us there's something fundamental that could have been changed to quench some of that, in my opinion. And we'll see. I'll talk about them more in a second, but it's, God, the consistency post FRP, and then the FRP is just a bear. One thing that's in the report early on that you need to know if you didn't read it is the fact that this is not a hybrid design. Like the Dead Air Mojave or the Cat SC, or even the really primitive hybrid stuff like the resilient stuff that has early venting. There's simply no early venting in the Microtech at all, like other than from the piston vents and the piston cage. If there was a way for them to adapt the baffles in the K module to have some annular staging, or like some other kind of off-axis quench feature, something, dude, it could be a different story. Like, remember the SWR Trident 9? That thing quenches FRP incredibly well, very, very well, but also has a completely different inertial decoupler, and it uses true omega baffles, not K baffles. A different sport. That's one of the reasons why, like, man, I'm telling you, when that SWR Trident came out, there were companies that kind of tried to talk mess about it, but I think we're all familiar with those companies now. When you get past the FRP, which I think you should try to, don't let that sour your opinion on the silencer, please. When you get past the FRP, the consistency of the silencer is very, very good. I mean, it's strikingly good. Strikingly good. It will do almost the exact same thing every shot after the first shot. It will keep running. It's a really solid unit. I would have no worries using this thing for situations in which it counted. I think, like, sometimes when you use a pistol silencer, you get a feeling it's sort of like a novelty. I'm sure some of you experienced users have felt like that. I find this silencer to be in a class of pistol silencers that it seems to operate very well and consistently. I think you really have to do a high round count test on the weapon system to determine true efficacy of this type of performance, like with regard to durability and things breaking. But this thing has the hallmarks of something that would keep running. I would certainly be interested to hear about other users' experiences regarding that. I know some horror stories from some of my industry colleagues that work or have worked at firearm manufacturers who have done a lot of durability testing of silencers on the weapons they manufacture, and the horror stories I have heard about pistol silencers completely being destroyed. Those aren't published and talked about, but I'll tell you right now, it might change a lot of your opinions about silencers if you actually knew. And we're not talking about rifle silencers are so easy to make. Don't even bore me with that right now. I'm talking about pistol silencers, mechanical devices, things with moving parts. Silencer industry is way behind on that part of the game, and that's just how it is. Hell, they're still in Knight's Armament Shadow from the Mark 23, guys. And I'm right. So too bad, so sad. Another thing that's interesting that we noticed in the shooter's ear waveforms, and I'm sorry if you're not a member and you can't see these, but I'm gonna for everyone's benefit, I'm gonna talk about it. There's a very consistent phenomenon. It happens in every silencer, really, pistol silencer, but we don't always see it in this way. The mechanical shock profile. It almost seems like there's a deadening that happens after the shock from the piston assembly. This becomes acoustically dead in a way. And I struggle to remember my personal experience. It's been a while since I've shot it. I'll have to go shoot it again and listen, but I bet you can hear it. It's sort of an interesting thing to think about. And I know this sounds like really niche and specialized, but when you get to upper echelons of silencer performance, you will, on a pistol, you will start to care about this, or you will at least be aware of it. Let me give you another example, like a pistol silencer in which mechanical shock is an interesting thing you would think about if you actually shot. If you go shoot a Cat SC, in the long configuration, the long SC is so quiet that you basically hear metal. You hear clack and resonance from the body of the silencer. It's like you're hitting the silencer on a table or something. That's how quiet it makes a gunshot. It is, to quote myself, as I was speaking with I was speaking with the manufacturer that's in the middle of developing a pistol silencer on the phone, and I told him he hadn't shot an SC, and I said, you need to go shoot an SC. It is spooky. And and they're a competitor to Cat. And I just told him, I'll tell all my clients the same thing. If what's on the website is what's on the website. I tell them, dude, if you haven't shot this, you need to go do it, because you're not understanding the level of performance that's possible in 2025. It doesn't even make sense. But the reason I'm bringing this up, well, one is to help you understand some of the nuance here. The other reason is all of these things are built into the signatures we measure, right? Why? Well, Pew Science doesn't decouple them. We're the only ones that are leaving everything in the signature, so it's all baked in. Like after you mix the cake, you're not removing the eggs and the flour, right? No, dude. When we compute the suppression rating, you guys know all this stuff is in there, right? You know the suppression rating has all of this stuff in it. And I just want to remind you of it. Like that's the reason we measure the whole signature is like when that slide comes back into battery, and you hear your slide come back into battery, chamber that new round. We measure that. That's in the suppression rating too. If you're in your and is that the same for every silencer? Does the slide closing of a pistol with a silencer attached sound the same for every silencer? Absolutely not. So why would you want to cut it all out and add it back later? Good luck. It won't work. Do me a favor. If you're in your house with your pistol unloaded, magazine removed from the gun, double check it's unloaded. No rounds in your mag. The mag's out of the gun, and there's no round in the chamber. There's no round in the gun. Open. Check it 100 times. Then put your silencer on your gun. Pull the slide of your pistol back, and then let it slam into battery with no mag in there. You will hear some noises. That is recorded by us, and it's in the suppression rating. So you know. Okay, so you think about this. One moment. You think about all this, and you think about what you hear in the context of an entire shot, an entire gunshot, a suppressed gunshot. It will make the short configuration of these silencers in those tests a little easier to understand when you think about it like this. Okay, you see where I'm trying to lead you here a little bit. We're going to talk about that now. If you remove the front module from this silencer, you're going to lose about half a category of protection at the muzzle. But the shooter is really not at higher risk in the free field. I want to show you this. Scroll down until you get to figure 5. Scroll down. Figure 5. You have, is it 5? Oh, shit. No, I'm sorry. Figure 3. Figure 3. No, I was right. Figure 5. Yes, figure 5. 5A and 5B. In figure 5, you will see the signature has now completely changed. You see a big coupled jet you simply did not see before. That's to be expected. The good part here is that it's a lot less severe than you typically see with short configurations. And that's really important. And that is, of course, because, why? Because the short configuration is longer, like we talked about earlier. That's right. So you have sort of a halfway point between a high-performance full-size unit and a typical K unit. And when you look at the momentum, the impulse, the blast impulse from the test data in figure 6, you'll see that the omega metric does drop. In other words, the slopes become steeper, which you would expect. And you also see there is still FRP, and this time it's actually even worse. This again tells you that the FRP control of the Microtech is just brute force. They've brute forced the FRP control. How do I know that? Well, because it got even worse when I removed the distal section. And again, that tells you that they were relying completely on the baffle features for quenching. There wasn't another directed path or any other advancement in the stack for this. You're basically rolling the dice during FRP every time. It's the Achilles heel of this thing, I think. I say that in context of like the wonder silencers we have now. But also, just like the long configuration, the post-FRP consistency is really good. Really high. I am telling you guys, this is a solid silencer. Really good performance. They just needed to get that FRP under control to make it like compete with the highest levels, but they couldn't see into the future, first of all. Second of all, it's their first silencer. Thirdly, I think if they redid the piston design in the cage, they could probably do something. I tread that line. I walk that line sometimes. I do not want to talk too much about how to design something, but I just hint to, hey, Microtech, if you want to change it, no, seriously, don't tell the government that I'm releasing ITAR secrets on a podcast. The big thing here, what a joke. I don't mean that ITAR is a joke. Well, I do, but my official statement is that ITAR is not a joke. And it's very important. The one thing that's a joke is that, you know what, they're going to regulate this and you can take the damn thing apart and post pictures on it on the internet. You know what I mean? So it seems sort of weird to me. Seems sort of weird that some things are ITAR regulated and some things aren't. The big thing that I think you do need to understand is that you're losing half a category of protection to someone adjacent to the end cap, but not to the shooter. Let's go back to that for a second. Logic will dictate you will hear a difference as the shooter. Okay? Let's not pretend. Just because the suppression rating is similar doesn't mean that you're not going to hear a difference. And that's one of the, I think, the biggest misconceptions of what the suppression rating is. In reality, because you are behind the weapon with outstretched arms, and ejection port blast is a major contributor to the hazard you get as the shooter, you are not doing too badly with that increased muzzle risk. You can shoot this just as much as the long configuration by yourself, standing out in the open. Be all right. It's just going to be the same risk profile for all intents and purposes of the same risk profile. Now, if you're near your truck or a range awning or a berm or other reflecting surfaces, maybe you're standing under some trees or next to some trees or near a barrel or near a crowd of people, it's not going to be as safe as the long config. Keep it in mind. And I think all short configurations of modular pistol silencers are going to sound louder than the long configurations because they are louder. In late time, the shooter will hear reflections off of nearby things and long duration wave components will be heard. The most severe jetting will not be coming back to you at nearly the same amplitude or duration. And you can prove this to yourself, dude. Look at the shooter's ear impulse waveforms if you're a member. You're going to see in the short configuration, you're not hanging out in the positive phase nearly as long. Less ejection port blast, shorter duration blowdown. They're all changing duration and phasing components. And the suppression rating considers all of that. Amplitude, phase, frequency, duration. The signature is different than in the long configuration, but not necessarily more severe to the shooter's ear. I mean, I've said this 100 times, and I bet you, I saw this on social media. I think Cat's like, I'm going to pick on Cat. They're selling a long configuration of a silencer and a short configuration of their SC. I think some people are going to buy that short configuration. They're going to shoot it. They're going to be like, oh, it's not as quiet as I thought it would be. The suppression rating at the shooter's ear is really high. How come it's not as quiet as the long configuration? And it's like, well, I told you it wasn't going to be. In the free field, it's just as safe. Getting your reflecting surfaces. Nope. Nowhere did we say it was going to be the same in our report. Okay? Guys, it's time. If you do not understand the difference between a long and short configuration of a pistol silencer on a pistol and the suppression ratings, email us at tech@pewscience.com. It will not bother me. I will explain this to you, guys. You gotta understand this. I don't want you to be disappointed. If there's something that would disappoint a user because they didn't understand it from our website, first of all, I take it personally. It bothers me because that Pew Science is made for the consumer, and if it doesn't help you, then it's hurting you. And if it hurts you, that is contrary to our mission. And I will make it my personal agenda to fix your misunderstanding. I care. If I didn't care, I wouldn't be doing this. Okay, so please listen. And if you don't understand, email me. Another big thing with the short configuration of this silencer is how it stacks up with all the other short configurations in the playing field and in general. Again, that's why I posted the picture with today's podcast. Look at figure 9 in the report. It's a bar chart. You can see it's not going to compete with the Mojave or the SC in their short configurations for the shooter's ear hazard reduction. We just talked about that because of the back pressure. It doesn't have, the back pressure is too high. But look at the muzzle or bystander hazard reduction. Look at that. Yeah. The acute risk for the operator with the Microtech is higher in the short configuration. It's ejection port blast driven. Get away from that location and the rest of the pressure field. It is safer with the Microtech short than it is with the Cat SC short or the Mojave 9 short by quite a bit, by a lot. Now again, the short configuration of the Microtech 6.4 inches long, the short SC is 5.5, the short Mojave is 5.9. So the Microtech being quieter makes sense, but it's not always a given. I mean, outside of the free field, if you had to choose between the short Microtech and the other short configs, the Microtech might be the move. Really depends on what you're doing. In many applications, these type of silencers, quiet is king, and really the move is the long SC. And looking at the chart, I don't care if Cat is a client or not. I'm going to tell you, like, if you need the quietest thing on your pistol, long SC, and it's not close, yeah. But maybe you don't have a long SC. It's all about what you need, dude. Like, it's data's data, dude. I'm telling you, it is what it is. And we're living in the craziest pistol silencer time ever. Thank God it's advanced. Thank God. If it wasn't for the Mojave and the SC, I'd have to say we're in a pretty tough spot. And I'm a little disappointed. But I don't make these things, so I can't throw stones too hard. I think overall, and let's talk about that. I think there's definitely milestones, right? One moment. There's milestones. AAC Tyrant 9, Cat SC. Both of those have modular versions. It's interesting that the original Tyrant 9, before it was modular, had the best FRP control of any Tyrant 9. Interesting. That military contract money, baby. But yeah, those are huge milestones. Tyrant 9 and Cat SC, those are the milestones for me. You could argue AAC Evolution 9 and SWR Trident 9 were milestones too. You could argue. I think the Tyrant 9 was a huge step. And then I think the Cat SC was the next huge step. I think the Knight's Armament silencer before everything was the big step too. Obviously. That goes without saying. I think this Microtech unit is what you would get if you crossed a Tyrant 9M with a rugged Obsidian 9. That's what I think. Frankly, if I was going to mess with a modular silencer from that era, I'd probably go Microtech, knowing what I know from this test program. I mean, is it fair to compare the Microtech to the SC and the Mojave? I mean, yeah. I mean, I think it's fair in that its current product being sold, but it's not a hybrid design, and so it's not going to do the same job, dude. Like, you're not going to get the same operator protection from a Microtech. I think neck and neck with the Mojave, the Microtech's really strong, especially in the short configuration. I think given the FRP control from the Mojave is not as robust as I think it could be either, because it's a modern hybrid. I think that's something Dead Air could improve. I hope to see a Mojave version 2. I hope if they fix the FRP on the Mojave, I think they got a solid thing that could be legendary. But it's just not there, in my opinion. Yeah, I think those are good peg points. I'm glad we have this Microtech in the standard. I'm glad we have the Mojave in the standard too. I'm glad there's another k-baffle we understand. I think Microtech could take a look at this report for a Rev 2 and improve it. I think other sponsor companies looking to engineer hybrid k-baffle could even look at this and get some ideas. I don't know. Hopefully it's inspiration for somebody. I'm glad we have it. All in all, I think it's a cool unit. Titanium, except for the pistons and spring, includes the O-rings, fully featured kit, tools, hard case, great build quality. Use the K-config for your main thing, and it's a great length, dude. It reminds me of the TIP from Inert Haze, right? I mean, it's actually quieter than the TIP from Inert Haze, but it's like similar in length. I like that length. I think that length is cool. I wish more companies would make a pistol silencer that length. It's proven to be possible with relatively primitive, like not primitive, but relatively old technology. The short configuration of the silencer is slamming almost 50 at the muzzle, bro. That's really good for its length. So it's proven that you can do it. And imagine what you could do with like super modern stuff that's not 5 years old, right? So yeah, use the K-config for your main thing if you want. If you need to be way quieter to kill someone next door to the party, you put that extra module on there. I think you're doing better with this silencer than you would with a ton of other silencers in the market all in. I mean, just the package it brings. I think it's a really solid unit. I hope this helps you folks understand it. I think I've given more opinion in this talk than I've ever given about a silencer. One, I'm allowed to because they're not a client, so no one can yell at me. Two, it's because I'm passionate about pistol silencers. So I think I get a pass. I hope this helps you understand it, okay? We got a busy month. Might not publish as much this month just because there's not as much time. We have a lot of research symposium things that we're involved with every September. And so we still have the test. So we're going to try to get some more data and analysis to you folks as we can. I'll let you know when it happens. Okay. Who knows? It could come in any time. Please stay safe out there and have fun. I will talk with you folks again soon. All right. Bye.